Good morning and welcome to today's panel discussion, AI in Education and Workforce, Preparing for a Challenging Landscape. I want to start out by thanking everyone for joining us here today to explore how artificial intelligence is transforming education and workforce. And part of this conversation is bringing together a diverse group of individuals who will touch on both the academic and the workforce side of artificial intelligence. So with that being said, I'm going to go through some brief introductions. I'm going to start with myself. I am Dr. Kurt Sparling. I'm the Department Head of Technology and Justice Studies here at Rogers State. I've written a few new degree programs in cybersecurity, UAS technologies, and national securities. Prior to coming to RSU, I was a commissioned officer in the Navy, and I finished off the 22 years with a Command at Sea tour. And I'm going to be moderating this discussion. So I want to move on to Dr. Brian Andrews to my right. He is the Department Head of Psychology and Sociology. He's an anthropologist and an archaeologist who has studied and published extensively on the earliest human inhabitants of North America. His research focuses primarily on social organization, technology, behavioral ecology, sociocultural evolutionary trends among hunter-gatherers societies. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. He is also involved with research and teaching in social theory, environmental sociology, including topics dealing with climate change and modern environmental policy. He teaches a variety of quantitative and qualitative research method courses to social science majors at RSU and is an unabashed statistics nerd. Dr. Ninatandra Pavluri, to my left, is an assistant professor at RSU. And prior to joining RSU, he obtained his doctorate degree in computer science from Texas State University. His research interests include data analytics, information management, and high-performance computing. Dr. Ninton strives to create an engaging and inclusive classroom environment and integrates real-world applications in his courses, thus enabling students to improve their critical thinking and problem-solving skills to succeed in their career. He is also a key faculty in developing our new AI degree option at RSU. Additionally, he is involved in overseeing the International Collegiate Programming Contests throughout Asia and some in USA and Mexico. Abhilash Minikuri, on the left also. He holds a master's degree in computer science from Oklahoma State University. Abby is an instructor here at RSU with expertise in game design, programming, and interactive media. At RSU, Abhilash has improved the game design degree by introducing new courses and has played a key role in shaping the artificial intelligence degree. He is passionate about teaching and is also involved in STEM outreach programs where he teaches K through 12 students about game development and programming. He's dedicated to creating an inclusive and innovative learning environment and is committed to mentoring aspiring developers and preparing students for successful careers in programming. Dr. Sarah K. Moon-So, to my right. She's an assistant professor in the Department of Psychology and Sociology at RSU. And Dr. Moon is a motivational educator with a passion for fun, effective teaching, and collaborative research. She teaches Introduction to Psychology, Child Psychology, Developmental Psychology, and Psychology of Adolescence, as well as Psychology of Well-being and Research Methods. Her research interests include parenting, child's play, mindfulness, and college students' well-being. Recently, she has focused on fostering a collaborative learning environment in her class through open communication. Additionally, she has explored college students' lived experiences through educational journey mapping, supporting its effectiveness as a tool in higher education. Dr. Lisa Palmer, also to my right. She is an internationally renowned AI strategist, former financial services chief information officer, and researcher. With 20 plus years in big tech, including executive roles at Microsoft, Gartner, and Splunk, and a 2023 doctorate focused on enterprise AI, she is the founder and chief executive officer of Dr. Lisa AI, and a stealth startup that will be unveiled in 2025. Dr. Lisa equips Fortune 500 boards and executives to harness AI for competitive advantage while avoiding risks. Frequently featured by media outlets including ABC, NBC, CBS, CIO Magazine, and Financial Times, she is known for making complex AI concepts accessible, and every day she guides organizations to apply AI profitability and responsibly by focusing on human plus AI solutions that drive real business value. And on a secondary note, she is an RSU graduate. Dr. Jarrett Phillips, also to my right, serves as the Vice President for Student Affairs at RSU. He holds a PhD in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies from OSU, a Master's of Science degree in Criminal Justice from NSU, and prior to beginning his higher education career 25 years ago, Dr. Phillips worked for Walmart, the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, and Department of Homeland Security. He's a member of state and national organizations and is here to speak today of AI and career search processes. Sai Seminini is an instructor to my left at Rogers State University with expertise in AI, machine learning, and programming. She holds a master's degree in computer science from OSU. And while at RSU, she's played an important role in shaping the artificial intelligence degree. She's also involved in STEM outreach programs, and prior to coming to RSU, she holds experience working as a programmer at Gonzalez Hernandez Lab at Cedars-Sinai, where she worked on various research studies pertaining to health language processing and large language models, AI. She also has experience working with Pega as a senior systems analyst at Capgemini. So at this point, if there are no, by the way, what a panel. At this point, if there are no questions pertaining to what the panel members are bringing to this discussion, we're going to jump right into the panel questions. And the first one has to do with foundational and ethical considerations of AI. And Abby, I'm going to point this one directly at you. How can educators ensure that AI is used ethically in educational settings?
Yeah, I think that's an important topic, ethical considerations. So educators can follow a few things to make sure that AI is being used ethically. First would be transparency, meaning being open with students on how AI works and what data is being stored. Everyone should be aware of how AI works and what data is being stored and what security risks are imposed. And discussing these can create a understanding and build trust around it. And the other thing is reducing bias. AI systems can give biased outputs because of its data that's being trained on. So, for example, it can give biased outputs on grading or giving additional resources. This can be avoided by making sure that the educators are choosing the AI tools which are trained for giving tools which brings fairness to the outputs. And the other thing is privacy, data privacy, which is a big deal. Schools collect a lot of personal data, and it's very important to store it securely. And it's also required to store only required data and also securely. And also educators can make sure that students' data are not being misused. So to keep it short, it's very important to understand the limitations of AI being used in educational settings. Yeah, I think that's very important.
Good. And keeping with that same train of thought of ethical considerations, Sai, how should educational institutions prepare students for potential ethical dilemmas?
I'm going to build my answer on Professor Minkuri's answer. As he mentioned, privacy and transparency are really important these days, because to prepare students for ethical implications and obligations that come with AI, educational institutions should make sure that AI in ethics especially should be a course for everybody that's available for all degrees, not just for technology related fields. As you know, everybody is using AI these days. As AI evolves and grows, it's important for everybody, especially students, to understand how AI impacts their daily lives and their future careers and jobs. One main thing that educational institutions can do is to prepare students to develop more critical thinking skills. This means that they can teach students how to analyze AI and how to how they should be looking at the questions they're asking AI. They cannot just put in all of their personal information and sensitive information into AI just because it's answering their questions correctly. Just because it's solved a major issue that you weren't able to solve, you can't just give it your assistant and ask it to give you the taxes that you were supposed to be doing. There are certain things that AI cannot do that should be very clearly and transparently told to students at a very start age. Be it middle school or high school students, everybody should know these things. And also hands-on experience is really important. On a closed environment, if students are allowed to work with AI and build on projects, workshops, or just discussions between students, it will foster a lot of positive thoughts and how they can ethically use it. Behaving ethically online these days is really important, and teaching that to students, educators should educate students on these aspects. They should mention that AI has potential biases, it also has limitations, and not everything it gives is a correct answer. You should be proof checking it twice and even more times. Just because AI is giving doesn't mean that that is correct as well. And also collaborating by different fields is really important, because ethics in AI is not just a technical issue. It's also an issue from law. If you look at from different perspectives, law students can tell you that these are not correct, this is not rights, this is like invasion of human rights or data privacy. Psychology students can tell you that this is all messing with your head. So it's not a technology issue. So everybody should be involved. Students from different backgrounds should be put together, and they should have discussions on how, for example, take a facial recognition system that's all over the universe right now. You can make students talk about it so they can think it in different perspectives, and not just technology student looking at it in technology perspective. They can bring in new perspectives. This will help foster a lot of ethical issues that students can solve and know beforehand, before they just step into real world, and probably it will enhance their understanding on what the ethical implications of AI is. And also educational institutions should make sure these discussions are open to public. These talks or workshops should be open to public, so that not only students see how this is affecting real life and the community or society as a whole, also the society will know what AI is, and it will make their life easier in some ways, but they'll also understand how important having their personal information safe is.
So we've heard twice at this point from our panelists that there is an opportunity, and frankly, there are biases, a bias that is experienced with the use of AI, and I'm opening this up to everyone here. What are those? What have we seen in relation to Lisa?
I'd love to tell a story. So there was a very large online retailer, who shall remain nameless, who used machine learning to try to help them to parse through all of the resumes that they get. As you can imagine, a lot of these big tech players get tons of resumes for every job application. They trained the machines based off of 10 years of data of successful software engineers in their environment, people who had been hired and had been successful. That seems like a rational thing to do. Unfortunately, what the system learned is that women must not make very good software engineers because there weren't very many or none in the data set, and therefore the system learned that and automatically kicked out any resume that it identified as being female. It gets worse because no one noticed. They went months without anyone noticing that they had no female candidates who were making it through their system because the hiring committee was also all male. So it's absolutely critical that you have a diversity of perspectives at the table when you're not only designing your AI solutions, in this case, a machine learning solution, as well as on the user side of it, that you've got to build a system to try to help to avoid bias. Really, the only way to effectively avoid bias is through human, varied perspectives. That's sort of the bottom line of it when you create the systems. And then when you are getting the output of it, you need another really diverse group of people, of humans on the other side of it that are looking for any potential gaps or misuses. Unexpected consequences are very common in artificial intelligence. And the way we catch those is using humans. So everything I talk about is always people plus AI.
Very good. Thank you for sharing. So next question, and somewhat of a shift back to education. I'm going to direct this towards Brian. What are some potential risks of AI in education beyond, unless you want to talk more about possible bias, and how can we mitigate them?
Well, I think in education specifically, one of the biggest risks is students misunderstanding how to use AI. AI cannot speak for you. And what we see in many cases is students relying entirely upon AI-generated answers to questions. I know, the students here know it's very easy to input an essay question into ChatGPT and ask it to write you an answer. That is an unethical use of AI that is unfortunately, I think, common in education, higher ed, and in K through 12. So I think it's our responsibility as educators to educate students on what are appropriate uses of AI. AI is here to stay. As a student of technology in the most general sense, I expect AI is going to have radical impacts on our social structure. That's what such types of transformative technology do. So it's our responsibility to make sure students are aware, and that includes the biases, that includes the risks to personal information, especially in a field like I teach in like counseling psychology. There's enormous potential for AI in counseling psychology in terms of recognizing patterns in patient transcripts and providing direction for diagnoses of problems. Machines are really, really good at recognizing patterns, and we can use that. But as has been stated already, it requires that human element to interpret what that output is, so that we're not falling prey to biases. And I think it's important that we integrate that type of knowledge into education at an early age. This should be something that we start in our university experience classes that everybody takes when they get here. We need to have some information for students on, hey, here's what AI is, here are the pitfalls, here's how you can use it to be successful as a college student and beyond.
Thanks, Dr. Andrews. And that's actually a very good segue into educational applications of artificial intelligence. And Dr. Ninton, how can AI be leveraged to enhance personalized learning experiences?
So, sorry. When talking about the AI, so one of the biggest benefits of AI systems is that they can learn and improve themselves over time. So in educational settings, AI systems can track or analyze the students' progress in courses and identify strengths and weaknesses and can adapt to individual learning needs and styles by customizing the content, assessments, and feedback. So there are students who have advanced learning capabilities. Oh, okay. There are students who have advanced learning capabilities, and there are some students who progress at a slower pace in courses. So these AI systems can generate intermediate, advanced, complex problems for these advanced students. And on the other hand, they can provide additional support and resources for the students who are progressing at a slower rate. So as an example, you can recall, so some students in a course, they are having difficulty in recalling some specific concepts, for example, demonstrated in lecture slides to solve an assignment. So an example use of AI here is it can display those concepts, or you can say reference slides in a pop-up window to students while they are working on an assignment, and can provide additional explanation of these concepts if required. And again, while AI has its benefits, it has to be overseen by the educators, ensuring its accuracy and ethical things. It cannot, the educators cannot allow AI models to just give, for example, a solution directly for the assignment. Then we need to have some limits, restrictions, and overseeing of the systems.
Very good. And I'm going to direct the next question towards you, if you don't mind. How is AI reshaping educational methods, especially in terms of personalized learning?
Yeah, so there are some different AI adaptive learning systems or tools that are being currently developed that can customize the content, like I just said, based on the individual learning needs and styles. So these systems, they have the capability to create challenging problems in real time, and they can provide examples to the students to solve the assignments. So, and again, these systems are capable to generate real-time projects with different complexity levels that are again tailored to students with individual learning styles and needs. And additionally, these tools, they can facilitate collaborative learning among the different students each time, enabling them to explore different learning strategies and improve their critical thinking and problem-solving skills.
Very good. Abhilash, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think most important topics are covered by Professor Nitendra, but I'm going to add to it. So one of the cool thing about AI for students is it can provide different types of resources like interactive learning, simulations, and personal tutor from anywhere and anytime, which will be a great help for students with different learning styles, and also who needs that flexible schedule. I think that would be a great help for students.
I'm going to ask you to share a personal story that you shared with me recently.
Yeah.
With your programming class.
Yeah. So we're working on a project. It's a game based off RSU campus. So we're in this semester we're working on a RSU baseball game, and we were working on batting mechanics. We are trying to code it. We were able to code it. It was running good, but we wanted to see it work more effectively. My students worked like 2 weeks, and they were not able to make it more effective. And it was a new thing for me also. I never worked with baseball game. So what I did was I took that code and I explained that to ChatGPT, and I asked it how we can make it better to make it effective in the actual game. It gave me a good explanation. It was able to do it in like seconds, and we were trying to work on it to figure out how to make it effective for weeks, and it was able to give it very quickly, and it also gave me a good explanation, which I took and explained my students, and we were able to get a good output. So I think that's what that's how students and educators can use AI to make it efficient, the education efficient.
Very good. Please.
So first, good morning, everyone. My colleagues were talking about the direct learning that you have in the classroom and things of that nature. From a student learning perspective, we also realize that you guys learn outside the classroom. And so probably one of the most focused things that you'll do in your career here at Rogers State University is to prepare for that next job or that career, whatever comes out of that. So I always like to try to provide evidence or an example of exactly what it is that you may see at the university or what you might see in the future at the university as a support or resource to you from a student learning perspective. We've been working from the career services aspect for a couple months now, mostly over the summer, to work with a partner, and we will be releasing a service soon that will do two things. It will help you optimize resumes, and it'll help you optimize your interviewing skills. This will be available 24/7. It's generative AI. We talked earlier about the Walmart story and how the ethics and the bias eliminated certain people. So what we're doing with the software and our industry partner is we are giving you a front row seat to test drive exactly the experience you'll have when you go out and apply for a job. You'll be able to have the opportunity to upload your resume, upload a job description, compare and contrast, and the system will tell you how to make yourself present better, improve your resume. You'll be able to sit in front of a video screen, and it will measure how well you interview. It'll look at your eye movement. It'll look at your speech and tone, your cadence, hand movement, all the things that I'm doing now that some of you are smiling about. We have these unintended things that happen during the interviews that we don't realize. So from a learning aspect, we want to support what's happening in the classroom, but we also want to bring a real-life solution to you to prepare you for the next step of your journey. Thank you.
So my next question, keeping with educational applications, Dr. Moon, so how can AI help create more inclusive learning environments?
So today is really educational day today for kind of learning about all the AI. In classroom setting, AI can include other students who may have some disabilities. So disabilities can be physical disabilities and also psychological disabilities too. So if you cannot move your hands well, you can use those maybe ChatGPT function, maybe audio to the text, and maybe text to the speak. So I think that will be really important for the people who cannot move their hands, maybe body, or doesn't function well. The most important thing is I came here as a graduate student from South Korea, and when I came here, there's no AI. So it was really hard to understand because I have a pretty good knowledge in Korean, but I do not know how to express appropriately in English. So if I have an AI at the moment, probably it's easier because AI has some translation and pretty accurate. I kind of practiced before coming here and try to kind of type in Korean and was try to convert to English, and it's really awesome. So I think in terms of that, AI can be a really good tool for inclusive learning, somebody who has some physical disability and also learning disabilities.
Very good. So keeping with educational applications, and I feel like we've kind of hit on this, but I want to see if there's anyone else on the panel that wants to add to it. How can AI contribute to more efficient assessment and grading within educational institutions, and what might be some limitations along with the implementation of AI for assessment and grading?
So I'll give you a personal example from my own experience. If you're grading like a 12-page document of every student, if it's a human, I'll tell you the good and bad side of both human and AI. If it's a human, you'll see the empathy and you'll see that your educator is connecting with you and he's giving you feedback specifically on your assignment and how he thinks because the educator is the one created and he expects it to be a certain format or certain length or something. So he'll grade you according to your, and he'll also keep in mind that he's talking to an actual human. He or she will keep in mind that they're talking to an actual human, and they'll use the empathy part that robots or AI do not have. And when it comes to AI, it will give you a very comprehensive and very good grading or very good feedback, but it cannot bring that human side or empathy side of it to your grading. So you'll feel like you can tell a difference when you're talking to a human or an AI system. So you can tell the difference when it's coming from AI. But AI is also very useful in helping that if there's a redundant task, there are certain checkpoints that the educator has kept, and if this is checked, it has to give certain points. That time AI can make sure that this redundant tasks can be taken away from the educator, but also the educator's empathy on giving the personalized feedback should come in. So it's like together they're great, and educators can still work on their own, but yeah, together they'll be a great combination.
Anyone else?
I'll build on that. I think that it's really important for us to remember what machines do really well and what people do really well. So machines identify patterns. So for example, a machine is not going to get tired. It also won't have biases. For example, when you're grading, and I'm also a professor at another university, when you're doing grading, if you have 20 papers, you may remember specifically the first paper that you read. You may have a paper somewhere in the middle that speaks to you personally, makes you remember something or really connect with it, and you're going to remember the last paper that you grade. There are some human biases that go into that because of the way that our brains work. Machines don't do that. The first one that they look at, that paper looks exactly the same as the last paper that it looks at. So it gives us a way to add the empathy and the human connection with that power of the machines giving us continuity and consistency and arguably fairness in the way that it's looking at them, because it doesn't have that human tendency for things like weariness. We get tired as we're grading and going through when we're doing those kinds of things. So it's another example. I love what she said of together, the people plus the machine can create a really great outcome in assessment.
Another very good segue, rolling into addressing challenges in education. Abhilash, how can AI support educators rather than replace them? Because we have heard quite a bit at this point on what sounds like, depending on a specific individual's propensity, their learning style, to where AI could possibly be a suitable replacement.
So AI can be a big help for educators without replacing them. Basically, it's about making things easier and giving more time for educators to focus on what they do best, which is connecting with students and guiding through the learning process. For example, AI can take care of grading, giving additional resources, and providing personal tutoring, additional tutoring depending on the student's needs, where teachers can focus on creating engaging explanations and giving that extra help one-on-one. And the other thing is AI can be a big help in keeping track of students' progress, because usually teachers spend a lot of time analyzing students' data of where they stand and how they can help. This can be done by AI, giving small insights on the students' progress and where they are, so that teachers can come in and give that one-on-one support depending on the progress. So what I would say is AI is going to be a big help for teachers, especially when it comes to grading repetitive tasks and logistics. But teachers will bring the human touch, which makes the learning meaningful.
Yes, And I'm going to add a little bit of perspective here, sorry, as moderator. In relation to AI aiding in the classroom environment, Abby was talking about grading and some of those things that we might think of mundane tasks as an educator. It also has the capability to be able to, as Lisa said, see those trends typically before we will. And I'm going to give you a specific example of that. If I have a student sitting at a 94 average in the class and they drop to 93.1 in a week, okay, maybe that's not a big deal. Maybe I wouldn't even recognize that initially. Guys, typically when educators do recognize that, our students are already in extremis. Frankly, they're already in extremis. And AI has the ability to see that well beyond we would and provide those notifications so that we can provide interventions and possibly fixes to whatever is going on in that individual learner's life. I don't want to say preemptively, but frankly, much sooner than what we would be able to see that in real time. So, sorry, had to jump in. Anybody else want to jump in on answering?
I'll roll real quick. So, obviously, I don't teach here at the university, but I'm an administrator. And whenever you think about how you mirror our processes, whether it be teaching, administration, et cetera, with AI, one thing for me is a lot of my tool set to be able to make us better comes through policy. It comes through budget alignment. It comes through human resources. It's that upper echelon of resources that a university will think about to deploy to help fix situations or solve problems. One of the things that I'm looking at in terms of the use of AI, and I'm a novice, I toy around with it and I try to trip it up, and oddly enough I did yesterday, so just a real quick story. I went into Copilot, which, you guys familiar with Copilot? No? It's one of the software that you can use AI, Microsoft, and I basically said, give me a professional photo quality image, and I put my full name in there for LinkedIn. And it came back and said, I'm sorry, based on the ethics of your question, we cannot provide that. Now, I don't know if because it didn't know who I was because it didn't check my login, but it was a specific person it was targeting, or if LinkedIn just has some policy that says, well, we want real pictures, not fake. I don't know. But from an administrator standpoint, I'm using the software more and more to ask research questions on a daily basis that I have to go out to teams and people and use resources and months of time to be able to get the answers. To give you an example, mental health is a huge crisis across campuses nationwide, and we have fixed and limited resources for the 3,200 students that we serve. So we've got to figure out how to do the best we can with what we have. So we will redact personally identifiable information. We'll run through the scenarios of why people will come to counseling and things like that, and we can start to project models of what these needs look like. And then we can go out in the real world and figure out, okay, from a solution standpoint, is it another counselor? Is it a telehealth solution, things like that. So as administrators, we are using AI as well because it streamlines the process and the data, so long as the integrity for the data that it's working with is there, we are able to move to things quicker, make decisions faster, which again benefits the students taking classes. Thank you.
So I'm going to interject again. It somewhat broke my heart a little bit when Dr. Phillips asked if any of you had used that specific type of AI previously. And the reason why it breaks my heart a little bit is you should be in an educational setting. And here's the why. Dr. Phillips said he is not fulfilling a faculty position here at RSU. He is an administrator here, and he is using that on a daily basis as part of his job responsibilities. You, as soon-to-be college graduates, will be expected to do the same and be proficient at it and understand both the pros and the cons of utilizing AI as you enter the workforce. That is an expectation today, and it is going to continue to grow. So, Sarah, I have a question kind of piggybacking off of Dr. Phillips' thought and then my thought there. what are the key challenges that you face as an educator on integrating AI into classrooms, knowing that this is a must-know when they get out into the workforce?
This is really a great question because I learn about we need to use AI in education field through conference. 2 years ago, I attended one of the conference, and there are several sessions of talking about AI use in education. So right after I came back from conference, I asked each of my classroom, have you ever heard about AI and ChatGPT? Not many students raised their hands. That's like 2 years ago. And recently I asked again, have you used ChatGPT? And do you use ChatGPT? And I realized, particularly this class, like 2 students among 20, and other class like up to 20%. So 10 to 20%, they heard of it and they're using ChatGPT. I'm teaching in psychology department, so probably it will be different than technology department students. So the challenging is number one, as an instructor, how can we introduce AI? In an appropriate way, because instructors, including me, I do not know much about AI. I do not know how to guide students, using some ChatGPT, not interrupting our criteria of writing a paper. Because I realize each semester, some of the students, they fully use ChatGPT and generate their final project. That's really awesome because it's too professional, it's too clear, and it's too good. So maybe it shouldn't happen to the students. I do respect my students, but I can obviously tell it's not from my students' writing. So we really need to have a strong guideline through communication. So communication should happen among educators as an instructor and also students too, and also administrators. So because Dr. Sparling emphasized, you should know it, you should know AI, but actually students doesn't know how to use it in appropriate way. And also instructor, myself, I'm kind of, I don't want to kind of touch that gray area, because in RSU, the university at this point, we are having AI guideline, how to use those, but it's not practical way. We need to educate more. If you want to let students use AI, we really need to know first as an instructor, what is AI, what would be like a good point, maybe bad point, and weakness, and try to educate us first. And then comfortably using AI in our classroom. And then we can educate our students. And Dr. Andrews mentioned about university experience, because every newcomers, they need to take their class. We need to implement AI class at least 1 week. So maybe first class, we need to teach what is AI. Maybe second class, maybe how to use the AI in an appropriate way. I know maybe only ChatGPT and Consensus, but there are so many other software we can utilize in a classroom setting.
So I'm going to open the next question up to anybody on the panel here. And audience is predominantly students here. Hopefully you appreciate the discussion that is being had on the struggle with educators on how to educate AI and do so ethically in the classroom without diminishing the learning experience. So what strategies as educators, and I'm going to open this up, Lisa, to introduce students to AI responsibly and ethically?
First, I absolutely agree that you have to know how to do this when you get in the work world. People are doing this today, and by the time that you graduate, it will be absolutely an expected skill that you bring into the work world. So please pay attention. If you're not using it, if you haven't learned, the best way to learn for yourselves is simply to play with it. And there are many of these tools that are completely free. It won't cost you anything. You can get a free accessed account to ChatGPT. There's also one called poe.com that has free access, and it allows you to access dozens of different tools large language models that are similar to ChatGPT. So you can play with it without it costing you anything, and that's the best way you can learn. As far as introducing it into the classroom, I actually think it's unethical for us as educators not to be preparing you. So I have a very strong opinion on this. And what I challenge my students to do is I have them overtly use large language models like ChatGPT, and they have to turn in the entire conversation that they had with the model so that I can see how are they interacting with it, how much critical thought is being implemented. Are they adding anything like asking it to use a framework or having really back and forth dialogue? You can talk to it like it's a really smart friend. So I have them turn in the entire threaded conversation. I call it show your work, just like you would do if it was math or statistics or anything else. I want to see what you learned through the process. How did you develop the essay that you ultimately turned in, and what the entire process was. And that is how I feel like you get an interactive learning experience with the tools. You're able to learn the core elements of the assignment that you were given, and you're preparing yourself for the workforce all at the same time.
That's I think a great approach. And I know I've talked to Dr. Sparling about this. I'm going to steal something he told me. In my stats class, my students are often dismayed to find that I can't really do simple addition and subtraction in my head. And I'll count on my fingers in front of the class, and they're like, what's going on? What is this guy doing? We use calculators, right? We use a calculator for that, and we have for decades now. And really, AI is akin to a calculator. It's a tool that we can use. And I think that's what we have to emphasize, and that's what students really need to understand, is that this is it's a calculator for your words, right? You can use it to do things that are not easily done by the human brain, right? That machines are really good at. So recognizing those patterns. I have my students in qualitative research methods. We do interviews, and first, we'll read through the interview transcripts and try to identify keywords and themes that are common among different interviewees. And then I'll have them input interview transcripts with private information redacted, of course, and have the AI identify keywords and themes. And it's always very interesting to compare the two. And then we'll do that in class. We'll compare, hey, what did you find? What did the machine find? Where is there overlap? Where did you learn something that maybe you didn't see in your initial read through? So, AI is a tool, and I'm in 100% agreement. It's something that we are, I think, as educators, ethically responsible for making sure our students know how to use it.
Not to drive home the point of how important this is for you guys to learn and be proficient. To give you an example, I earned my PhD 4 years ago. This wasn't around back then. There was a whole lot of PhD work, research, et cetera, that I could have made very efficient having this system, all the way down from research question to development of resource lists and everything else. So for you guys heading to a capstone, a paper, this is a great opportunity to be able to say, who in the world has ever talked about X? And if you say, give me 10 responses, it'll give you 10. You say, give me infinite, it will just keep going and going and going until it gives you the information. You have to use the information, obviously. But the thing I was going to say is the importance is whenever you think about industry and workforce, how many of you guys want a job when you graduate or want a better job? Hopefully all hands go up. Otherwise, you're that lifelong learner who's just going to be here forever and ever, and we'll just keep giving you degrees. The state of Oklahoma, and I want to say this about 6 months ago, they sent out stuff through the Oklahoma State Regents, which is our governing board, and they talked about the importance of our society in Oklahoma, workforce all the way to the common citizen, becoming more familiar with what AI is and how to learn through that. What they did is they cultivated a list of free resources, all the way from a course that just tells you what we're talking about, all the way down how to use it, or ethical considerations, or things of that nature. Those things are free, and they're being laid out there by the state of Oklahoma for us to share with all of you. Why? Because the expectation is, in the 5 to 10 years, this is going to be front and center for most every industry, every job. It will be a factor. So I hope that you guys take the opportunity to, A, use those resources, learn more, play, try to trick the system, try to beat the system, because the more you know, the more marketable you're going to be on the career side of this.
I would like to just add to the answers. I'd like to give you an example. So you're working in a company, right? So you're having an issue that you don't know how to fix it or how to solve it. So an example to interact with the AI models is you can ask the AI model, what are the causes for the issue? And what are the possible solutions for the issue? No model is 100% accurate. So there is no solution that fits everything. So you need to ask questions. So based on when interacting with the model, you get something from the model. Analyze what it gave you. Question it. Ask more questions. So that's the way to improve your skills and self-knowledge on issues that needs to be resolved.
Yes, and I feel like this is an appropriate time to share something because there seems to be a theme here. Over the last 10 years, I've been involved in workforce education, serving on different committees throughout Northeast Oklahoma. And within the last 8 months, I've seen a trend. And by the way, the makeup of these committees are typically educators, and then HR representatives, CEOs, individuals that make things happen within private organizations. Here's the trend that I've seen. When the question comes up, what are your prospective applicants lacking in relation to soft or hard skills? 10 years ago, when I first came to Oklahoma, it was all the low-hanging fruit. And my students have heard me say this. Can they speak? Can they write? Can they communicate effectively? And then critical reasoning. Those are always the top two. And then you'd see Microsoft products. PowerPoint, Excel, Word is number 3 or 4 sometimes. The last 6 to 8 months, that has changed. What industry is saying in Northeast Oklahoma is their number one skill lacking, soft or otherwise, proficiency in AI. Proficiency in AI is the number one skill that individuals are lacking when they come to apply for a job. I appreciate us saying 5-10 years from now it's essential. I'm going to argue that it is essential now. It is essential today in the workforce. I see you nodding along, Lisa. You want to add anything to that?
It's absolutely essential in the workforce today. It is defining people's careers. So those who are embracing this technology early are getting a huge leap in the market, and that goes all the way from an individual person up to the company level. So within 5 years, I expect large companies to be completely out of business. There are some companies that are so slow, they are refusing to accept what is happening and how fast it's happening in the market. And there are new entrants, new companies that are using artificial intelligence to grow in a crazy fast manner. And so some of these organizations that are kind of old and stodgy and not embracing the technology and moving forward quickly are going to be displaced, disrupted. The same thing is happening to individuals. When I talk to people who are taking it on themselves to upskill themselves, to learn, to play with the tools, to be early adopters, they're already getting massive career opportunities, huge money. I will give you a personal story. I got a call that came to me. I am not looking for a job, building my own firm. I got a call from Google. They blind offered me $1 million a year. All right? Never had spoken to me. Now I'm in the public, so they had seen me speak and they know what I write about and things like that. So it's not like I'm a completely unknown quantity, but I was stunned. Stunned. I thought she misspoke, right? That you would call out of the blue and make that kind of offer. The reason is because people that have these skills in the market right now are so in demand. So in demand. That's today. Not 5 years or 10 years from now, it's today. And that's also happening in Oklahoma. I have Oklahoma clients. I have large Oklahoma clients. I have clients, everything from banking to, I have a jail in the state of Oklahoma that's one of my clients that I'm helping them to be better stewards of their funds so they can spend more money on inmate care. They care about that. They want to create better outcomes for their inmates. And they need to do that through cost controls, and we can use AI to help them with cost controls. So all the way across commercial applications to public sector, people are already embracing this tech.
So that is another good segue into workforce implications. And Lisa said something that hit a little hard. And frankly, it's because it's going to hit a lot of people hard. She talked about displacement. Individuals are going to be displaced in the workforce because of AI. What do I mean by that? And I'm opening a little early to questions. What do I mean by workers are going to be displaced?
It goes back to the skilled versus non-skilled worker type of thing. The non-skilled worker is going to be replaced by a skilled worker that knows AI, essentially.
There are going to be positions that required 120 people for a department to run effectively. Those departments are going to shrink significantly based on the tasking that is expected, their job responsibilities. I feel like it's important for us to recognize AI will displace workers. That ought to be an opening discussion when we have panels like this. That does not mean individuals are simply going to lose their job and they're going to become homeless. It becomes a retraining and an educational opportunity. But the fear with most is that AI is going to replace people in certain tasks. I'm here to tell you it will. And it's coming quickly. So with that being said, collaboration between business and education becomes even more imperative on being able to meet those workforce demands. Dr. Phillips, how can businesses and educational institutions collaborate to prepare our learners for these careers?
Sure, and I think it's a fantastic question. Because you guys are in college to learn, to be better. So first and foremost, I think the partnership between higher education or any education, whether it's technology, Common Ed, et cetera, and industry really goes back to that curriculum development. What is it that we need to teach now or need to teach for the future to meet those needs and those goals, kind of like what we talked about a while ago? What are employers looking for? What's the gap that they don't have that they're going to need, and AI is going to be able to fill that. So I think the curricular partnership, I think, is vital. One, I think the experiential learning piece of that, to be able to put our students in a real-world situation, solving problems for business and industry, and having that experience, building those connections, is also very vital. You see a number of incubators. You see different systems set up to where there is a problem in a community. And so you have these public-private partnerships in which maybe there's a problem and the industry comes together, they meet higher education, and we work to solve those. All of those things currently exist, but they're going to be that much more vital as the technology advances, as AI is more prominent, and as more of you hit the workforce at a very critical time. So there's a lot of things that we've done in the past that we still continue to do and it'll be very important in the future. But I would say when you look at institutions, and I'll say community college, regional university, which Rogers State is, and then like the R1s, which is the OU, ORU, TU, et cetera, there's three stratifications. Right now, the bigger schools are having these relationships, these conversations, and they're what I would say ahead of the curve. Regional universities are kind of in that sweet spot that we're a part of the wave, and if we do this right, we can be at the table. Community colleges, not so much. And so it really depends on how you choose to engage as a student, not only at your institution, but how you also think about your future. I tell every freshman I meet with, if you have a pretty good idea of what the direction is you want to go academically because it relates to a career, And I typically use academic cluster and career cluster because sometimes you don't have a target, you want to hit the range. Start thinking about what you need to do to set yourself apart now. Start thinking about what that means from your perspective. So don't wait on the university to develop something. Don't wait on business and industry to develop something. I've seen a number of students who took the lead and they went out and they brought that partnership together to get all the resources to talk about what that means. And so that one student doing that made a better experience for a lot of other students down the road, year after year after year. So to me, those direct communicated partnerships that meet the future needs is where the value of that lies.
Very good. Dr. Palmer?
I want you all to feel empowered. This is an exciting time. You get to take control of your own futures in a way that we haven't been able to do in history. So you have access to create your own online social media, LinkedIn. If you are not building your LinkedIn network now, please start. LinkedIn is the social networking site for professionals. And every day that you're on there, that you are building a network, your network is going to be something the people that you know and the people that they know are going to be able to give you access to opportunities throughout your career. So the sooner you build that, the better off you are. And then over time, you get to decide, what skills do I want? What skills am I going to go after? Which educational institution can help me gather those skills? What am I going to do for myself? Find some of these tools that are free and available to me to be able to learn and grow my own career. There's no one out there right now. Your competition for the number of people who are proficient with AI is tiny. It's tiny. You're not competing against this huge trough of people with deep AI skills. It could be you right now. If you choose to educate yourselves and take control of your own futures, you're going to be able to direct your future. I am also seeing a massive trend in the workplace for people that want to be self-employed. They don't want to be beholden to a specific company's time schedules for them to work and deal with trying to raise a family and juggle the schedule that the employer wants you to have. There's a huge trend for people to want to be self-employed. And those with artificial intelligence skills are going to have an outsized opportunity to create and direct their own futures. So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed with the fact that there are going to be roles that are displaced. I want you to feel empowered to build the job that you want, to build the future that you want.
Very good. So at this point, I would like to open up the floor to questions from the audience members.
Sure. Two, if we have time. One, I'd like the panel that are instructors, faculty members, to kind of speak to your colleagues. What foresights do you have in regard to education as a whole, of how we need to evolve our teaching tactics? I'm an instructional designer here, and I see faculty that are wholeheartedly embracing AI in their classroom, as well as I still have faculty using blue books and essays, handwriting. So they don't have to worry about AI plagiarism in their platform, but it's not setting those students up for using it in the workforce. So what are some ways that you've developed a healthy use of AI, and also combating the students that are just blatantly using AI to earn their degree? We've talked a little bit about educating them on the ethics, but I still think there'll be a large majority of students copying and pasting, to get there. So what are some of the things that you guys have seen, and what would be the message to fellow faculty members on adapting to use AI?
Well, I'll start. I think it's probably subject dependent. If you talk to English professors, they are going to have a very different opinion of AI than information technology professors. So a lot of it is field dependent. I don't. AI is not good at interpreting art, I would guess. That's not something that you're going to want to use AI to do. It may tell you something, but art is personally meaningful to individuals, and so the skills required in analyzing art are very different than the skills in quantitative analysis, for example. So I think whatever approach is taken is going to have to be in some way subject dependent. Now again, my English colleagues would probably disagree with me, but I think they also need to be recognizing that AI is here. It's a tool that our students need to know. So it probably needs to be integrated into the curriculum. Again, I'm not sure how that works. We're in education. We're kind of at a brave new world here, where everybody's doing it a different way. And like you said, I have faculty in our department, they're like, oh no, we're going back to blue books because I'm getting too much cheating. So they're going to write their essays in class, during class, where I can see them do it. I don't think that's probably the approach, but it's going to be a complex system of integrating into the different fields. I know that's probably not a very good answer, but I think that's probably the reality.
Can I add a little bit? So we really need to have some foundational knowledge about AI, and I know Troy, you're the expert in educating instructors and students too. So I wish we have a class, at least maybe beginning semester, maybe we need to learn about foundational knowledge about AI, how can be utilized in a classroom setting. Maybe starting from for the novice instructors to the maybe more advanced instructors. So maybe you can open some class 3 level, maybe novice, intermediate, maybe advanced. So advanced professors, they can use more variety usage of those AI application, but maybe novice, maybe including me, you can teach basic foundational knowledge. But we need to make sure we are in the same page, which is we all need to know about AI and usage of AI in our education. Because as an instructor, you have a freedom to generalize AI or not, but I guess we really need to know, and students need to know too. So maybe you can create some class, those 3 different levels, that would be good.
I think I agree with them. I think it depends on the domain. English department can see it different. Computer science, it's different. So I think for computer science, I think AI is very good at coding. So the coding solutions will be very easy to get for students. So for that, I think educators should focus on the logic of the coding, because it's very important to learn the logic, because you can get the syntax anywhere online. So the logic is very important. So I think educators can focus on bringing that problem solving skills to write that logic for the coding. Yeah, I think that's one point.
Adding to Professor Minukuri's point, I'm giving you a real life example from my own life. I was a programmer before being an instructor at RSU. And the one point, like the end of my interview and all good, during the salary negotiations, the one thing that I was asked is if I was comfortable using AI to code. It was a necessity that I had to know how to question AI. I did not use it to directly give it a project statement and ask it to write code or ask it to summarize papers. Research papers were something that is very useful. You could give it a research paper. You don't have to go through 15 pages of research paper. Students can just give it the research paper and ask it to summarize. That's how you leverage it. You just tell students like how it's useful and how it's supporting them. For example, how I was using it to code in my personal project was I wrote my code, I wrote my logic. I was just using it to get my syntaxes faster. I would otherwise also use Stack Overflow or Google to get syntaxes. I'm not a robot. I don't remember every single syntax of every single sentence. So I don't know how it will be useful for people in psychology or sociology, like what their exact terms are. But if in general terms, you should educate students and educators, mainly educators, to be open to the idea of AI because it's not going anywhere. It's only making their lives easier. It's important to educate everybody in these aspects, telling them that this is here to support them, not replacing them. The emphasis on that part maybe builds a lot of trust on, as you said, a lot of educators who are not willing to use it.
I'd love to add that we need to think of it in a scaffolding learning perspective. Because, first of all, we need to stop defining the use of artificial intelligence as cheating. You can tell, like, I get red. It is not cheating. These are students who are using the tools that are going to prepare them to be highly effective members of our workforce. All right? So first, we have to come to an agreement on what is cheating and what is not, and then squash that mentality that it is cheating to use these tools. And then instead, let's think of it in laddering. If we go back to the calculator analogy, we have to do that with writing. We have to begin to ladder skills from elementary to middle school to high school and into higher education. And yes, that is going to take some time, just like it did way back when we introduced calculators. I now have people ask me, should I cite that I used ChatGPT in this? And I said, did you use Excel? Yes. Great. Did you cite that you used Excel? No. Then do you see the correlation that I'm drawing? We have to begin to prepare students and have our educators ladder them through so that by the time that they are in our classrooms in higher education, they know what is ethically appropriate and what is not. And they know, when you're going to do math by hand and when you're going to use a calculator and when you're going to use Excel. That same process has to happen with artificial intelligence with regard to writing. But first and foremost, right now today, we have to stop thinking of it as cheating, and we have to enable our students to work in partnership with artificial intelligence.
Very good. So we have about 2.5 minutes left. Another question.
I had just kind of a statement and then a question. So I'm an RSU student as well, an older student, working adult, work in economic development. And so I can tell you from my own experience utilizing AI over the past probably 12 months, on average it saves me 4.7 hours per week that I get back. And so I'm able to use that instead of returning all of the emails that, the hundreds that I get a week. I can automate those kinds of things. And it gives me time to focus on those higher level things, and it gives me time to build connection with other individuals. So it gave me back on average almost 5 hours a week, where I'm in a role where time is precious, and it's the one commodity you don't get back. So I see people that don't embrace it and companies that don't embrace it will continue to see diminishing returns as the years go on and this becomes the standard bearer. I can tell you employers from all sectors are already looking for people with AI skills. It is going to become essential. But my question is, for organizations, whether they be, governmental agencies, private business, educational institutions, what would be good strategies for implementing kind of that human-in-the-loop approach to implementing AI and machine learning into their organization and their processes?
In 45 seconds or less, Dr. Ballmer.
Start small. Focus on business value creation. There's so much that you can do. So what you don't want to do is take on efforts that are so big they overwhelm people and they take too long, there's too much bureaucracy. The way that we're successful with artificial intelligence is to pick specific problems that you have and use AI to fix those problems in partnership with humans. And pick them off one by one. That means you're going to have to implement new technology. We've all done this before. And you're going to have to change the processes that support that new technology. So that's why it's important to start small and iterate. You get a win, you get that done, you get your workforce adjusted, you do another one, and you continue that process.
I want to thank everybody for being here today, and hopefully you have felt that this discussion is value added, and I also believe it is an ongoing discussion. Thank you.